Hello there, this is Rahul, and today we are going to focus on the concept of a EC2 user data. And for that, we are going to use the three different EC2 instances, which is Windows-based, Ubuntu-based, and Amazon Linux-based. Let's try to understand why do we need a user data script for our EC2 instance. So user data script is a set of instructions which install certain packages onto our EC2 instance. And those instructions will be installed when you are starting your EC2 instance. Here onto the screen, you can see an example of a user data script, which is a Ubuntu-based EC2 instance user data script, which is installing an Apache 2 server onto Ubuntu. But irrespective of this script, this concept is gonna be pretty much common for any EC2 instance. What I mean by that, if you are using a Windows-based EC2 instance, then also you can install Windows-based software packages inside your user data script. So with the help of this user data script, you can install those packages or predefined software packages onto your Windows-based EC2 instance, your Ubuntu-based, or as well as onto your Amazon Linux-based. And we are going to see the demo on all the three type of EC2 instances. Let's start the demo, and first we are going to see where we will be able to find the section of a user data script when we are launching the EC2 instance. So here, this is my AWS console, and here just type the EC2. Go to the EC2 option, and here you will find the option for a launch instance. So click on this launch instance button, and here we are going to fill these details later, but let's scroll down at the bottom, and here you will find some options for advanced details. So just click on this advanced details section, and here you will find at the bottom a user data section. This user data section is optional. You don't need to fill in all the time, but if you fill in some details over here or user data script here, then it is going to be installed on a boot time. So this is the section where you will be entering your user data script. Let's start our Windows-based EC2 instance by filling up the launch instance details. So here I'm just going to fill the details. So I'm just going to put the Windows demo EC2, the name of my EC2 instance. Second, here we need to select the image. So as I told you, we are working on a Windows based. So I'm just going to select the Windows based image, AMI. After that, I'm just going to stick with my free tier, which is a T3 micro. I'm just using it for demo purpose. That's why the key pair login. So this is important because this key pair we are going to use to log in into our Windows based machine. And for that, we need to generate the key. But before that, I would like to show you one thing over here. So here is the setup of our SSH key pair. So this is me on the left hand side, and this is the EC2 instance on the right hand side. So whenever I'm trying to access this EC2 instance, then I will be needing a key. And here you can see here I need to generate a key pair. So what does it mean by key pair? So here I will enter a key. So I will put Windows EC2 keys, and it will generate me two keys. One is the public key, and another one is our private key, which you can see onto the diagram. So here on the red color, it is a private key, and on the green, it is our public key. So here in this section, I'm just going to generate those keys for my Windows machine. So once I'll click on the key pair, then it is going to generate two keys for me. One is our private and one is going to be our public. So let's click on create a key pair, and here you can see it has downloaded one key, which you can see over here on my browser. So Windows EC2 keys, and this downloaded key is our private key, and it has also attached that public key at the same time onto my EC2 instance, which you can see over here in the key pair. So this is the utility which we are going to use to perform a login onto our Windows machine later. But this concept is really crucial, and which you can see over here. So here the private key has been downloaded onto my system, and public key has been associated directly into the AWS console with our EC2 instance, which you can see over here. Now we have generated the keys. Next thing is I'm just going to I'm just going to stick with the default network setting, but just keep in mind that we are just enabling the public IP. Otherwise, I will not be able to log in into my EC2 instance. Alright, so apart from that, there is one more thing that I'm just not going to create any more security group. I'm just going to stick with the default security group, and here I'm just allowing the RDP traffic. RDP traffic is really important because without RDP traffic, you will not be able to access your Windows machine, and it should be from anywhere. This IP address, which means 0.0.0, that I'm allowing anyone in the world to access this public EC2 instance, Windows-based public EC2 instance. Okay, so that's I have filled it. Configuration for storage, I'm just keeping 30 gigs, which is sufficient enough for me. And in the advanced detail section here, I'm just gonna enter the details of my user data section. So scroll it down here. This is the section, and now I would like to show you the script for my user data. So here, this is the user data script, which is a PowerShell script, which I'm going to install, or I'm just going to key into the user data section. So let's try to understand this particular script. So here you can see this is the first one, which is like install Windows feature, and this is going to install our web server, which is an IIS server. And here we are just starting that IIS service, and after that we are just configuring a default home page onto this particular location, which is a C directory, inetpub, www root, and index.html. And this index.html, we are just gonna write our own content, and this is the content which we are going to write inside our index.html, which we are gonna access later. Here I'm just gonna change it and put it demo. Just so that you know that, yeah, this is the same page I'm loading over there. And here we are just writing that content into the index.html. So here you can see this is the path of my index.html, which is I'm storing into this particular variable. And here I'm just writing out the whole content, which is this one, from here to here into this particular variable. So that will update the index.html. And after that, I'm just starting my IIS server so that these index.html pages can be reflected. Okay, so this is the script which I'm just gonna use inside my user data section. So I'm just gonna copy the whole script, and I'll just move this here and pass that content over here. And after that, I think everything looks good. And here I'm just gonna click on launch instance, and it will take a couple of minutes. So I'll be back once this instance is up and running. All right, so here you can see my instance is up and running, and the status is green over here. So I'm just gonna click on this instance ID, and let's verify a few details, which is public IP and the private IP. So to access this particular instance, we are just going to use the public IP. But before that, we also need to know the username and the password of our EC2 instance. And at the same time, we are going to use the private key for that. So now we are going to use the private key to obtain the password of our EC2 instance, because we have only set the SSH key pair. We have not set any manual password. Okay, so for that, what we are going to do, we are just going to click on connect option over here, and then here you're just going to go to RDP client, and in the client section you can see there is a username which is administrator, which is available, but the password you need to get. And once you will click on this get password option, then it is going to ask you the private key content. Okay, so here we need to open that particular key which we have downloaded, which is this one. So I'm just gonna open this one. So I'll just go into the Finder, and here I'm just gonna open, I can show you. So here you can see this is my key which I have downloaded, so which I'm just gonna open. I think I can drag and drop onto my Sublime, which is text editor, which I'm using over here. So I'm just gonna show to you. So here you can see this is the content of my private key. So I'm just gonna copy the whole content from here, and here I'm just gonna paste it, and here I'm just gonna click on decrypt password. And here you can see the password is available for us. So now we know the public IP, which is, I can just open once again. So here you can see this is the public IP we know. We know the username, which is our administrator, and this is the password we are going to use to access our Windows machine. Now to access the Windows server, we need to use the client. Since I'm using the Mac OS, so I need to use a Windows remote desktop client. But in case if you are using a Windows-based laptop or Windows-based desktop, then you need to enable a particular service, which is like a enable remote desktop onto your PC. I'm using Mac OS, so that's why I need to use this particular client to access my remote Windows machine. But if you are using a Windows-based machine, then you just need to enable this remote desktop feature, and then you will be able to access your remote machine with the help of your public IP, username, and password. So that's the only difference between when you are using a Mac OS or a MacBook, or you are using a Windows-based laptop or desktop. Okay, so since I'm using this Mac OS, I'm just gonna stick with this client, and here I'm just gonna click on add PC. And once you click on the add PC, then here you need to enter the public IP, so which you can get from here. So just copy this public IP and paste it over here and click on add. And here your system has been added. So now you just need to click on connect option over here. And once you click on connect option, then it is going to ask for the username, and here the username is administrator. So I'm just going to copy this username, paste it over here, and the password, which is this one, and I'm just going to paste the password over here and click on continue. And it is asked, are you sure you want to connect? So I'm just going to click on continue, and it will open the Windows machine for me. So here you can see this Windows machine is getting loaded. So once this Windows machine is up and running, then I'll be back. As you can see, my Windows machine is up and running, and on the right hand side you can find the details of my EC2 instance, which is a Windows based, and here is the IP address 172.30.146.123, and which you can verify from our AWS console, which you can see over here, that the same IP address of my EC2 instance of my Windows machine. Now let's try to verify our user data script and whether we are able to access the home page of my IIS server, which I have tried to install using the user data script. So for that, I'm just going to open the browser over here, and here I'm just going to type the local host, because I have installed that IIS server onto the Windows machine, and that Windows machine is I am accessing locally. I'm inside my Windows machine. That's why I can use the local host, and hit enter. And here you can see this is the default page of my IIS server, which I have modified inside my index.html. And if I could show you, then yeah, this is the title. If you could see my Windows web server, and I have added a one keyword, which is demo, which you can see over here on the title of the tab, which is Windows web server demo. And this is the content which I wanted to have inside the index.html. So this is how I am able to install the IIS server, as well as I am able to put the content inside my index.html, which you can also verify if you open that my computer here, and here if you go to the PC, if you go to the C directory, then you will find the inetpub, which is this directory, and inside www, and here you will find the index.html, which is this one. So this is the index.html which I have updated using the user data script, and which you can verify from our script, which is this is the path which I was able to modify using the user data script. So this is how you are just going to work with the user data script if you are using the Windows-based EC2 instances. Now we have seen the Windows-based user data script for EC2 instances. Let's focus on to the Ubuntu-based EC2 data user data script. So here I'm just going to go to my AWS console. Here I'm just going to click on launch instances, and I'll be quick over here. So I'm just going to put the name of my server. So I'm just going to put Ubuntu EC2 demo over here, and here I'm just going to choose the image. So I'm just going to choose Ubuntu over here. I'm just going to stick with the default architecture T3 micro for demo purpose, and key pair. So I'm just going to generate the key pair, and here I'm just going to generate the key pair which will help me to get private as well as the public key. So I'm just going to enter the Ubuntu EC2 keys, and it will help me to get the private key as well as the public key. So here I'm just going to click on the generate, and here you will see this is the private key which has been downloaded for me, and the public key has been already associated over here with my EC2 instance. So it does both the things simultaneously. It attaches the public key over here, and as well as it downloads the private key onto my local laptop where I'm working right now. So here you can see Ubuntu EC2 keys.pam, which we are going to use later. But anyway, we are just going to move forward. So here network setting, I'm just going to stick with the default network setting. And here I'm just going to enable the public IP so that we can access our EC2 instance. Also, one more thing over here, there is one SSH we need to allow so that we can SSH into our EC2 instance if needed. And also we just need to allow the traffic onto our HTTP port. So for that, I'm just going to select this option, because once we are going to install the Apache 2 using the user data script, then Apache 2 is going to run onto the default, not default, but on a port 80. So that's why I'm just enabling this particular port, which is allow HTTP traffic on a port 80. And if it doesn't work, then we are just going to manually enable that into security group later. Okay, so let's move further. I'm just going to stick with 8 gigs of default configuration for storage and go to advanced detail. And here I'm just going to enter the user data script for my for installing the Apache 2. So I'm just going to show you the script, and this is the script which I'm just going to use for my Ubuntu for installing the Apache into my user data section. So here you can see this is the syntax for bash script. Here I'm just going to install the here I'm just going to update the package manager. Here I'm going to install the Apache. Here I'm just going to update the content of my index.html of my Apache, and then here I'm just going to restart my Apache 2 so that I can see this particular content onto my EC2 instance Apache 2. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this content from here, go to my AWS console and paste this section into the user data section, and here I'm just going to click on launch instance. And it will take a couple of minutes to launch this particular instance, and which you can verify from here. So here you can see it is up and running. So I'll be back once this instance is fully up and running. Here you can see my instance is up and running. So I'm just going to click on instance ID. I'm just going to copy the public IP address, and I'm just going to open a new tab and paste it over here. And it should open me the default index.html page of my Apache 2. And here you can see it is showing me the detail if I zoom it over here. So this is the default index.html page of my Apache 2 server, which I have updated manually while inside my user data script section. So if I take a look over here, then this is the content which I have pasted over here. So details, server details, and here I'm just using the host name, and here I'm printing the host name IP address. So which is quite visible over here, which means we are able to install the Apache 2 using the user data script section of my EC2 instance. One tip over here, in case if your home page is not coming up and if you don't know like what's wrong with your user data script, then you can just run this command where it is going to generate the log from the cloud init output log file. This is the log file where you will see what's wrong with your user data script. If some commands are wrong, if you don't have a root permission or a sudo permission, then everything will be available onto this log file. So in case if your script is not behaving the way you want, then I would recommend you to go to this particular location and check the logs and see what's wrong with your user data script. Now we have seen the user data script for Windows and Ubuntu. Let's try to see how we can install the user data script for Amazon Linux. So for that, I'm just going to head over to my AWS console of EC2 instance, click on launch instances over here. Here I'm just going to enter the name. So I'm just going to put Amazon Linux demo. And here I'm just going to choose the image. So I'm just going to stick with Amazon Linux, and I'm just going to stick with default architecture t3.micro. And here I need to generate the key pair. So I'm just going to generate the key pair, and this key pair is again public and private key. So when I'll click on this key pair button, then it will generate two keys. One is public and one is private. And the private key will be downloaded locally, and public key will be associated with this EC2 instance of Amazon Linux. So here I'm just going to type Amazon Linux keys over here and click on key pair over here, and here you can see the private key has been downloaded onto my local system and public key has been associated over here. Okay, moving to the network setting, I'm just going to enable the public IP so that I can access my Amazon Linux, and after that I will allow the SSH as well as I'm allowing the port 80 so that I can access the default home page of my server, which I'm just going to install using the user data script. Moving further, if you scroll down, then you will find an advanced details section, and in the advanced details section you will find a user data section, which is this. And here we need to enter the script. So I'm just going to show you the script. So this is the simple script which I will be using to install the Apache onto my Amazon Linux system. Not Apache, I'm just going to use the HTTPD service onto my Amazon Linux. So here it doesn't matter what kind of a service you are using. You can install any software package of your choice. You can even install Python, Java as a part of your user data script. So here I'm using HTTP server. So I'm just going to copy this script, but let me explain to you. So here I'm changing the permission to become a root. Here I'm updating the package manager. Here I'm installing the HTTP service, and this is the demo page of my HTTP server, which I will be updating at this location, which is var.html index.html. And after that, I'm just going to stop and start my HTTPD service. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this script from here, go to the user data section, paste over here, and after that I'm just going to click on launch instance. I'll be back once this instance is up and running. Let's verify the instance detail, and here you can see the instance is into running state. Click on this instance ID, and here you can see these are the detail, which is public IP and private IP. Now we are interested in verifying our home page of my HTTP service. So I'm just going to copy this public IP address from here, go to the new tab and hit enter. And here you can see this is the home page of or index.html of my HTTP service, which you can verify from our script also. So here you can see hello demo user data script Amazon Linux from, and this is the host name which I'm just trying to print over here, which you can see over here. So this is how you're just gonna work with your user data script. I have just shown you a very basic example like IIS server, Apache 2 server and HTTPD, but you can install your custom packages also with your user data script. But make sure that your user's data script is correct. And in case if it doesn't work, then you can just go and check at this particular location, which is I'm just gonna paste it over here, which is this path. So this is the path where you can check what's wrong with your user data script, and that will tell you exactly what you have done wrong with your user data script.